Okay, we are live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment here. Kind of a weird, awkward night relative to the MHH podcast because normally I schedule the pod about 2.5 hours ago, usually around 4 p.m. local time, 4 p.m. Mountain. And then we go live a little after 6, whatever it usually is. But this time, what's today? Today's Mother's Day. So I've been at a family function. Didn't have time to get the stream. It would have been way too early to publish a stream anyway. I left at like 1 p.m. Went to the family thing, made it back. Took about an hour to drive, and so I knew it'd be a little bit late. Zach, by the way, he's doing what he should, and he's taking care of mom and having fun on Mother's Day. So we're gonna have a solo conversation. Welcome in. It's the Mile High Huddle podcast. I am your solo host tonight, Chad Jensen, and I am not joined by Zach currently, but there is a small chance. There's a small chance he might be able to pop in, but let's not hold our breath. He's taking care of mom. Yeah, no worries. I just got final message from him, in fact, saying not in the cards. So we're not going to be seeing from or hearing from Zach or seeing Zach tonight, but that's all good. What's going on, Todd? How's you doing? Good evening. Right back at you, big dog. Technically the first comment tonight. String Guy, what's up, brother? My PRS loving friend of the guitar playing tribe. Great to see you. But yeah, it's Mother's Day. We'll wait to see the stream kind of populate, people coming in and whatnot. But what a day! I am first of all, shout out to all the mothers in Broncos country and MHH. I am one of those guys that is just completely in awe and overwhelmed and stunned at the power and love and just everything that a mother provides. It's like a force of nature, literally, right? But there's something supernatural about it. So I love celebrating Mother's Day, celebrating with my wife, with the great mothers in my life. My mom unfortunately passed away coming up on 10 years. She'll be 10 years next year. So but my wife's mother's still alive. I got one grandma still alive, so got to see her tonight, which was great. And my stepmother. So rock and roll. Happy Mother's Day, right back at you, Phil. Good to see you, buddy. Yes, indeed. Happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers out there. Same from Todd, indeed. But I was like, nah, we'll just skip tonight. It's a holiday. It's Mother's Day. People are with their families. And I thought, nah, there's been enough going on this weekend that I got plenty of subject matter, and there's some genuine stories to talk about. Todd says, made my wife steak with scallops wrapped in bacon and salad. Yo, dude, you're a culinary adventurer. It sounds like. That's cool. Good for you, buddy. You're taking care of Mama Bear, so to speak. Really cool. But Friday, let me just pull something up. Friday, of course, the Broncos rookies reported for rookie minicamp. And the first thing that's kind of interesting to touch on, and by the way, any topics, questions, supers, of course, get them in the chat. I will get to them. But the first thing that's kind of interesting relative to news is the Broncos rookie class picking their jersey numbers. And it's kind of interesting. I'm trying to find let me find the article real fast. Here we go. So just so I can be reminded here. So the Broncos, in fact, I'll do a little share screen scratch and sniff, because I don't think, you guys got to tell me what you think, but I don't think a couple of these numbers are going to be staying with their respective players for too long. Let me go ahead and pop that off the screen there. But here, let me blow it up a little bit in case you're watching on your phone, which you probably are. So Jahdae Barron, for now, took the number 12, and I'll explain in a moment why I say for now. PJ Harvey, for now, 37. Pat Bryant, 13. Savion Jones, 95. Q Robinson, 51. The punter, Jeremy Crawshaw, 39, which he's the only punter in Broncos history to rock that number. And then Caleb Lohner taking a number that is the biggest tight end number in franchise history, because, of course, Shannon Sharpe, Hall of Famer, that's the number he rocked for most of his career. OG Broncos fans will remember that Shannon Sharpe did start off as 81. and changed his number to 84 when his brother Sterling Sharp, his career was cut short because of that freak neck injury. So he wore his brother's number to honor him. And now they're both in the Hall, which is really cool. But 12 on Barron, you remove the 1, it's a 2, right? Yeah, Pat Surtain. So that's a harbinger. 37, this is like a typical placeholder number. Last year, Audric Estime rocked 37 until 23 was kicked loose after cuts, and he turned to 23. The year prior, Riley Moss rocked 37 before he eventually changed his number. So who knows? Maybe Harvey sticks with 37, but something tells me that's one of those numbers to watch as well. Bryant, that was his college number. So you can count on that being his number moving forward. 95 for a defensive lineman. That's pretty significant. I mean, that's common, but the significance is, who is the last badass Bronco D lineman to rock 95? Don't ever, with us, right? Derek Wolfe. 51. Hey, John Mobley, probably the most prolific Bronco to rock 51. So that's cool for Robinson. I bet that sticks. Crawshaw, we'll see, but I'm sure it'll stick. And then Loner. So we covered that. Do you guys think, what do you think of the numbers? I'm just curious. Let me say some hellos, some more people. What's up, Big Earn? Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Indeed, go Broncos country. Only Knicks for 6. Roderick, what's up, dude? And yeah, Big Earn, thanks for that. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and animal moms. Indeed, my friend. Way to go. So let me explain something to you, why I'm not so sure in Jahdae Barron's case that number is going to be sticking. So he was asked yesterday, hey, why did you choose the number 12? Quote, it's just for right now, but I'm enjoying it. If it's 12, it's 12, and I'll wear it with a lot of pride. So it's almost like that number was maybe assigned to him, and or that his options were very limited, right? So what did he wear in college? 7. He wore 7. Obviously, that's not in the cards. If you're a Bronco, you're not going to get to wear 7. And the only reason that 18 was unretired for 4 years was because it was for a guy by the name of Peyton Manning, but that's a number that is never going to be worn again. So 7, and I think Barron had a previous number. He wasn't always a 7 at Texas, but I don't think it's in the cards for him. Obviously, 7's not happening. So 12, I don't know. I think it's fine, I guess, for a rookie. What's up, George? Good to see you, big dog. Saying happy Mother's Day to all the ladies and all the Bronco moms on the Mount Rushmore of MHH. Thanks for being on for all of us. Yeah, for sure, brother. Hit the thumbs up. MHH for life, Broncos for life. Appreciate you, George, big dog. What's let me see here. Oh yeah. String Guy says you're the host with the most, Chad. Just got home from taking my wife to Red Lobster for Mother's Day. The lobster has really gone downhill in quality. Kind of disappointing. I got to tell you, not to, at the risk of upsetting Big Earn, because, of course, Broncos country only. But my last experience at that fine establishment, or once fine establishment, wasn't so hot either. So I don't know. Maybe that's a common theme, buddy. But yeah, I love Red Lobster, though. I mean, I love lobster. I love crab, shrimp, all that stuff. What's up, Greg? Good to see you, big dog. Hope you're doing well. Still rocking your AJ Bouye jersey in your profile pic. Really cool. Okay. Now tonight, guys, for obvious reasons, we'll probably keep it pretty tight. All right. But, we'll probably go half an hour, maybe a little more. We'll see, but we'll probably keep it about a half an hour. So first things first, I want to talk about RJ Harvey, which, look, everybody's excited about Barron. He's the first round pick. Yeah, that in and of itself is exciting. He was the best player on the board. The Broncos got a guy at 20 that, depending on who you talk to, they had ranked, top 10, top 15. So he was their best player on the board. He's exciting. But even if, a cornerback, first round though he may be, it's kind of hard to compete against the skill players on offense, especially with how much attention was focused on running back all offseason. And, I know where it's at. Sorry, I'm talking to myself real quick here. I got to find this article from Keith. But what's interesting, a couple things about RJ Harvey this weekend. Here it is. Let me find this quote real quick. Hang tight. Normally I'll get like little breathers where I can pull this up while like Zach's talking, but I found it. So RJ Harvey kind of made some waves. I guess arguably you could say that this was like the biggest news that came out of the weekend, because a lot of times rookies come in, it's their first exposure to the league. They're kind of keeping their head down. They're working, getting to know their new coaches, their new teammates, and just kind of trying to fit in. But RJ Harvey, of course, I mean, even Sean Payton at the podium yesterday brought up Kamara, brought up Sproles. So he was asked, RJ Harvey, let me just read a couple things. So, quote, he's definitely wants to be like those guys, like Darren Sproles. He went crazy with the Saints. Kamara too. So I want to be better than those guys. So I'm going to work every day, get better, and just prove myself to all the vets and the coaches. And I want to make an immediate impact in this league. So what are your thoughts, guys, on RJ Harvey saying that he wants to be better than two pretty legendary guys? I mean, Sproles, I think more gets made of him post his playing career. I mean, not to say he didn't get props and whatnot, but not a lot of accolades. Or am I tripping? Let me test myself here real quick. Darren Sproles. Let me check his jacket. Let me check his resume real quick. I don't remember Pro Bowls. Yeah, I mean, no, three-time. Excuse me. Three-time Pro Bowler, 2014, 15, and 16. So that was basically his last year in New Orleans, and then a couple of years of that in Philly. I sometimes forget about his Philly tenure. And then, of course, Super Bowl champion as well. That's true. So Darren Sproles, Alvin Kamara. So technically, let me see. Alvin Kamara. Hold on. Hang tight. I gotta remind myself of Kamara's accolades just so that we can put what Harvey's saying in its proper context. So he's a 2-time All-Pro, second team, and a 5-time Pro Bowler. So he went to the Pro Bowl every year, starting. Let's see, what was his rookie year? 17. So rookie year, his first 5 years, he was a Pro Bowler. Wasn't in 22. Wasn't in 23. Wasn't in. So he's kind of been going downhill. A lot of that having to do, of course, with Peyton stepping away. Yeah, as Scott brings up, Sproles was more of a return man. So that's relative to the Pro Bowl. That's where the accolades come from. He didn't have enough touches to beat out some of the guys on the running back side of things. Ralph, what is up, dude? Says, myself, Jimmy Thielen, and Gene William are watching from beautiful Steamboat Springs. It's been a great Mother's Day. Are you guys all from there? Or did you guys get together or something? I'm curious. Forgive my ignorance. But that's really cool. You guys are all together. Shout out to each and every one of you rocking in Steamboat Springs. Awesome, dude. Jimmy throwing down some big boy stars. Really appreciate you. Says, I'm hyped on Pat Bryant. Yeah, he looks good, dude. He looks good. The big knock on him was the speed thing. Not the fastest guy, but neither was Cortland Sutton coming out. And as we touched on that one story last week, his college coach, position coach, I forget his name now off the top of my head, but he said watching him, he only coached him his last year at Illinois, but he's like, man, that guy is just like Sutton, because that's who coached Sutton at SMU. A lot of similarities. I mean, if you ask him what he brings to the field, Pat Bryant, this is what he said yesterday, quote, just being that physical route receiver. At Illinois, I earned my way onto the field as being that blocking guy and that physical guy. Kind of add to that the catching game and really all aspects of my game. Really using my size as an advantage will help at this next level. But yeah, dude, I would agree. I'm excited by Pat Bryant, and he looks good out there, man. He looks clean. I've got a good feeling about him. And still, though, some Broncos fans are a little bit salty still about the Broncos, quote unquote, reaching on Bryant in the third round. I hate even bringing it up, and I'm even kicking myself now for even saying it, because I do think it's really ridiculous. There's consensus, right? There's media consensus outside of what's happening in the league or with teams. We hear it all the time. All it takes is one team, and the Broncos, they didn't want to risk losing him. He's going to play a bigger role, I think, this year than we expect. Gene Williams says, all related. Oh, dope, dude. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize you guys are all related. That is cool, man. Family affair, hanging out for Mother's Day, celebrating probably, right? Or I would guess. That's really cool, dude. That's really cool. Didn't realize you guys were all related, dude. Wow. Cool, man. Thanks for keeping MHH all in the family, so to speak. Gary Palmer, as he is known, the GLP, checking in, legendary guy, has made it to a couple of meet and greets and just one of our Mount Rushmore Super Chat superstars, dropping the first Super Chat tonight. Kind of a weird night. People didn't know what to expect. We didn't go live at 6. We didn't go live at 6:15. We didn't go live at 6:30. Here we are kind of going live at a weird time. But Gary, thank you, buddy. So good to see you. He says, thanks, Chad. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms. The moms. Go Broncos. Amen to that. Mothers are just the best. They are the best. And I say that as a little bit of a mama's boy. Admittedly, I am a little bit of a mama's boy. But I think that's pretty standard when you're raised by a single mom, and that's what I was. My parents divorced when I was real young. I'm not trying to spill my dirty laundry. I'm just saying. So I grew up very close to my mom, and I also married a great one. I also married a great mom. So thank you, Gary, for checking in, big dog. String Guy says, Bryant catches everything. It looks effortless. And that's the thing is he didn't bring that blow you away straight line speed that, jumps off the screen, so to speak. But, dude, everything else about his game is legit for an X receiver or even a big slot. So, there's underwear Olympics speed and then there's game speed. And I don't think his game speed, I think it's good enough for the NFL to where all the other components that he's mastered. I mean, his hands, what was it? One drop last year. He had the most reliable hands of the receivers in this class. 52 of his 54 receptions last year either went for a first down or a touchdown. That is ridiculous production, even in college. So I'm stoked about him. Route running is solid, and the philosophy of no block, no rock. Lil Jordan Humphrey's gone. So Sean Payton, you brought in Evan Ingram that ostensibly, even though that's not his forte, can help do more in that department than, say, a Marvin Mims or, Mims is going to be getting the ball a lot of times in those blocking situations. But with Lil Jordan Humphrey gone, which, by the way, in case you missed it, whatever it was, less than 2 months after signing Humphrey, the New York Giants waived him last week. So he's back on the market, and it will be interesting to see if the Broncos are interested in bringing him back, because there were those rumors around the time that he signed with New York that the Broncos wanted him to put on, 15 pounds and become a tight end. So I don't know. We'll see if he comes back, but I think, the Pat Bryant pick was in part due to the vacancy, the vacuum that was created by Humphrey going elsewhere. They need that blocking acumen on the perimeter, and Bryant brings that in spades. So he's going to see the field, my dogs. He's going to see the field. Let's see. What's up, Patrick? Good to see you, big dog. Aloha. Right back at you. Harvey Comp from Michael Davis. Maurice Jones-Drew. Anyone else seeing it? I kind of see it. And MJD, he had surprising power, right? How tall was he? Let me remind myself real quick. Hang tight. There he is. 5'7". Harvey's 5'8". All right. Jones, 210 pounds. Harvey, 205 in terms of how he's listed. And that dude's thighs, they talk about Saquon Barkley and the Quadzilla, right? Earl Campbell, also the OG, was famous for having tree trunk legs. Dude, have you guys seen pictures of RJ Harvey's legs, his thighs, his quads? Let me see if I can pull it up. Hang tight. If you have not seen this, I got to show you, because it will raise your eyebrows here. Let me see. There's one, but yeah, here's the one I'm talking about, courtesy of Ryan Green of DNVR. Check this out, guys. This is ridiculous. And this is why I'm not worried about whether or not he can hold up to the war of attrition and the grind that is a full NFL season. So let me blow this up as big as I can get it. One more, maybe. There you go. That's about as big as I can get, and then it'll not all fit on one screen. Look at those freaking quads, guys. See where the mouse pointer is? Look at those freaking massive. He's built. He's stacked. And from a body type perspective, he and Genty are not that far apart, guys, honestly. Standing in front of them, standing near them, both Scott and I at the Senior Bowl, and then also Zach and I at the Combine. These guys are just built, dude. They're ripped, like Schwarzenegger at 5'7", 5'8". So he's built to take a punishment. And what else do you get out of quads like that? Like when you think of Saquon, you get that pop and that explosion. And I think RJ, obviously, he's gonna bring that in spades. But isn't that wild? Dude is big boy. Now, the questions about whether or not he's going to factor in on third down, all the agonizing and misgivings over his pass blocking and what the Broncos lost in Javonte Williams being that reliable pass blocker. Kind of interesting what Peyton said. Let me make sure I find this. So, that's the wrong article. Let me find the right article. Hang tight. I want to read this quote from Peyton on RJ Harvey, third down roll, etc. Because again, people were wondering this and that. So here's what he said. He goes, look, when you think about this, Sproles, Kamara, there are a lot of different backs we've had that we can create different protections to make sure that the matchups are right. Because I know the question is he a 3-down back, RJ Harvey? Well, he's going to play on third down, but he could play on third down where, say, the tight end is in protection opposite. And then he goes on to kind of tell a little anecdote. He says, quote, this is Peyton Still. There's a lot we can do relative to really suit his strengths. It would happen occasionally with Darren Sproles, where I'd say to him, hey, every once in a while, you might get matched up on Navarro Bowman or Patrick Willis. I'm not going to make a habit of doing that in a pass pro situation. And if you watch Harvey's stature, he's put together pretty well. We just looked at that. So there's a difference between a small runner and a short runner. We're not interested in the small runners, but we're okay with the short runners, close quote. So, yeah, you're going to see him on third down. He's the guy now. David, the Papa Bear, jumping in on Super Chat. Thank you, big dog. Great to see you. Happy Mother's Day to those awesome mothers in your life. Great to see you on this Sunday evening, Mother's Day. Antonio, jumping in. What's good, brother? Saying super stoked to sweep the Chiefs this year. Man, how close was it last year? I was just talking to, again, I came home tonight from a family event where I saw cousins and siblings and uncles and aunts and this and that. And my uncle, he's like, so, man, are we going to beat the Chiefs this year? We're going to finally close the gap and unseat them as the AFC West champs, right? And I said, and he goes, and I start to answer him. He goes, because, they won however many games by one score last year. It was uncanny, including that one against us, the block punt or kick, And I said, yeah, there's two ways to look at that. You could either look at it as, wow, the Chiefs are so savvy and just consistent across the board that in these one-score games when the chips are down, they consistently find a way to come out on top. And then the other way to look at that is, as I fix my background just a little bit, the other way to look at that is, why were they in so many close razor's edge games? Like there's a vulnerability there, perhaps just waiting to get exploited. And if it wasn't for a one in however many hundreds, I don't know what the number is, but such a rarity for a kick like that to be blocked, especially a chip shot. That was such a freakazoid incident. The Broncos swept them. And you'd be looking at Sean Payton being 3-1 against the Chiefs as Broncos head coach. Granted, that season finale was their backups and all that, but the Broncos did what you're supposed to do against a backup squad. They handled them with ease. So, Antonio, I'm with you, big dog. I think this is the year that the Broncos, and even if it's not the sweep, okay, this is the year where the Broncos complete the process of closing the gap with the Chiefs. It's hard to be the best like that year in, year out, especially in the NFL. And look, the Patriots had that 20-year reign with Belichick and Brady, which, by the way, what the Sam Hill is going on with Belichick and the elder abuse happening with his, whatever she is, 20 some odd, old enough to be her grandpa. Some weird stuff going on that Brandon Perna has done a great job documenting it. That's good. good sports. Joey, what's up, dude? Joey Dively checking in on Super Chat. Thank you, my buddy. He says, I feel like Pat Bryant is a Jerry Jeudy comparison, routes hands, with the physicality of Humphreys and none of the known attitude. That's a good point. The last thing you bring up there, bud, the attitude. First of all, not only is it not a problem, his attitude, it's exactly the kind of attitude you wish to cultivate throughout a locker room. So he's a young guy. He's a rookie. He's going to have to fit in, pay his dues within the locker room culture. But oh boy, the Broncos drafted him as a young leader. D-Dub checking in as well with the super chat on the similar subject. Great to see you, Dale, big dog. Give my best to Gretchen. Happy Mother's Day to her. Dale says, flying solo tonight, I see. Yes, Zach's out doing Mother's Day stuff. Super excited about this draft class. I don't get the Bryant hate. How about Rod Smith, Jerry Rice? Both ran in the 4.6s. This guy looks the part, and my money is on him making George Payton look real smart. Broncos for life. Agreed. Look, speed is important, but the more important component of speed is game speed, actual game speed. And if it's not running a 4.4, 4.4, 4.5, whatever, what other aspects of your game can kind of help, not so much cover being a 4.6, 4.7 guy, but complement that and not allow it to be something that holds you back in a big way? Like, what was Rod Smith? What made Rod Smith so productive and prolific in the NFL? He didn't catch on right away. It took him a little time converting from being a quarterback in college to an undrafted guy in Denver to making the roster and then becoming a starter with a future Hall of Famer who had yet to win a Super Bowl in John Elway. But Rod Smith, I'll go back to the previous super chat, attitude. First one there, last one out, working hard, leader, trying to master his craft and become the best at everything there was to being a wide receiver. And yeah, maybe he wasn't the fastest guy in a straight line, but his route running, his physicality, his willingness to sacrifice himself in a given play or in a given game plan for what's best for the team, all that kind of stuff, man. Jerry Rice, the route running, the smoothness, the transition, all the stuff he brought to the table, the hands, both those guys, very similar. So in that respect, I agree with you, big dog. And I think Pat Bryant, he was one of those picks that, in fact, the Broncos' first 3 picks, each one of them in their own way this year, kind of disappointed fans. Not all fans. I'm just saying a chunk of fans disappointed by each one of those picks for different reasons. In the case of Barron, it was we wanted Omarion Hampton, or we wanted Travion Henderson, or we wanted Quinshawn. In the case of RJ, all we reached. Not that RJ sucks, but that, there were perhaps other guys we thought were ranked higher. RJ was supposed to be a late 3rd, early 4th, yada, yada. And the same kind of thing with Pat Bryant. And most fans, when they started hearing about that, they didn't even know why Pat Bryant was necessarily viewed in the consensus as a more late day 2, more like an early day 3, I should say, guy. And it was one reason, dude. The only reason he wasn't viewed as a bona fide by the consensus that is so precious to everybody. The only reason he wasn't viewed that way is because of his 40 time. That's it, dude. And you're seeing that that's not always the most important thing to NFL front offices. It's all the other things. And in the case of Pat Bryant, he brings both the tangible and the intangible traits to the table in spades. Like, he's going to be a stud. So in all 3 of those cases, though, Barron, Harvey, and Bryant, what I've been saying from the very beginning is, guys, just wait. For those who are disappointed, just wait. 6 months from now, you're not going to be losing a wink of sleep over any of the issues you're agonizing over right now. You're going to be loving these dudes. You're going to be thanking the football gods the Broncos drafted these guys. Eric Flynn, what's up, dude? He goes, I didn't know how big Harvey's quads were until I saw the highlights from yesterday. Denver's very own Quadzilla. Oh, dude, I'll bring it up again for those of you just hopping in the stream. If you have not seen this dude's quads, you got to check it out. Let me find it again here. This is Denver's new Quadzilla, RJ Harvey. Now, these are just stills. Look at those quads, dude. Look at his thighs. Unbelievable. He's built to last. He's built to last. He can go the distance. And the question, as I mentioned earlier, we talked about Sean Payton addressing the idea of being a 3-down guy, 3rd down guy, all that. Yeah, RJ Harvey is their plan A. And because they don't have a lot of proven stuff happening behind Harvey, I should say. I mean, Audric Estime is going to get the next kind of chunk of touches as the power guy, but RJ is going to get a lot of carries. Like, he might actually be one of those guys that harkens back to the initial era of Sean Payton in New Orleans, where you did have guys like Reggie Bush and Pierre Thomas. Did Pierre Thomas go over? Hold on. I got to look at Pierre real quick. I got to remind myself of some of his stats. Yeah, Pierre Thomas is kind of more like Alvin Kamara in terms of the production. Different backs, but similar in a lot of ways, where they'd get to like 6, 7, 800 yards rushing, and then like ridiculous receiving production for a back, 500 yards, 400 yards, etc. But anyway, I wouldn't be surprised. My point on this is I wouldn't be surprised if RJ kind of forces the Broncos and Sean Payton a little bit, not all the way. It's not like he's just going to be the bell cow to end all bell cows and no one else touches the ball, but kind of force him a little bit out of his, by necessity, running back by committee thing. So we'll see. We'll see. But really exciting. And yeah, those quads, dude, are absolutely legit. Glenn, what's up, buddy? And again, guys, we're going to keep it pretty tight. I'm trying to think if there's anything else big from the weekend that I want to share. Yeah, there's one more story I want to get to. Peyton just sounds, we're going to talk about it, but giddy and smitten by Caleb Lohner, the 7th round tight end. We're going to talk about that. But Glenn says from down under, saying, I agree with D-Dub. Not only is Brian a perfect fit with his route running, blocking, catch radius, he's a born leader. I had him as a 4th round pick in my mocks for these reasons. He and Ingram are going to really help the run game, blocking packages, give Bo options in the clutch. All right, dude. Amen. Thanks for checking in, my friend. Bob, what's up, dude? A newer name as a commenter. So welcome, dude. Appreciate you sounding off. He says, do you think the Broncos running back room is so unbroken they should sign one of the remaining should the Broncos sign another free agent? In my opinion, in a perfect world, yes. I don't think they will, though. Should and will are two different things. Or do you think with the Broncos running back room so unproven, I think is what he meant to say, they should sign one of the remaining free agents? Yeah, I mean, if you could bring Nick Chubb in for a song and a ham sandwich, relatively speaking, I would do it because he gives you some of that proven savvy, that veteran experience, which is also helpful in a room as young as the Broncos running back room is. I mean, no disrespect to Jalil, but actually, technically, Tyler Bidet is the most experienced guy in that room relative to the number of years he's been in the league. So I think it would not hurt. And the Broncos have plenty of cap space right now to make a couple of those, what I call Evan Mathis moves. Drafts in the books, free agencies in the books. You start matriculating through the offseason and training camp, and you want to leave a little bit of budget in the event that things aren't quite lining up the way you hoped maybe. Go get a running back. It wouldn't shock me if they do a little bit later in the summer. I don't think they're planning to right now, Bob. So we'll see. But let me talk about this. So Caleb Lohner, who, by the way, again, Denver 7th round pick, played a total number of 57 college Division I offensive snaps as a tight end. Caught 4 passes at Utah, all 4 of which were touchdowns, but the subject matter relative to the analysis and being able to project on him was very limited. They saw him at the Big 12 Pro Day, and Sean Payton was like, whoa, when he was standing next to the 6'7", 250-pound cat. He's like, yo. And he kind of shared some additional insight on Lohner yesterday. So let me read this. Quote, Sean Payton says, you see traits, you see movements. I'm not a big fan of the Big 12 Pro Day because a player like him gets 6 routes instead of 20 that he would get at his own Pro Day, say at Utah. So hopefully that's going away. But there are 2 or 3 clips where I'm like, play it again. Play it again. Then when you watch him and you watch him move, and even in our first 2 days here, rookie minicamp, people bring up Jimmy Graham. Now, Jimmy was a 3rd round pick. I get it. but there were some similarities in that. One last little stretch here. Quote, he only played a year, 80-something snaps. This is Jimmy. I think he had 18 catches. Because remember, Jimmy Graham also kind of more specialized as a college basketball player, late to the football thing. Peyton goes on. So, yes, we have to coach and develop. In other words, if it was already present when you watch him and you guys see him and shake his hand, stand next to him like, holy cow, there are traits there that excite me. Then just visiting with him and his intentionality and his excitement about it, I'm excited to watch it, close quote. So he's another guy that I think might end up being more in, hey, when Javon Vele, different position, but also skill guy, when the Broncos drafted the 26, 27-year-old Vele in the 7th round last year, ask yourself, how many of you genuinely believed you'd even see him make the roster, let alone start the number of games he did and contribute in the way that he did? Now, look, last year and this year are a little bit different in that the Broncos last year really had very little choice but to go skinny and rely on the youth of the roster. So naturally, that played a part, and that helped kind of push Vele to the fore than it might in a normal kind of cycle. But I didn't expect him to be that good right away. And even if I was thinking, yeah, he is a draft pick, he'll probably, because even if you're a late round pick, you kind of have to really be pretty unimpressive in camp and preseason to not make a roster because you're a draft pick. So I didn't necessarily think he wouldn't make the roster, but I'd be lying to you guys if I were to tell you I thought he was going to go on to be the role player and starter that he was. So my point in that is, could be a little bit of a harbinger relative to fellow 7th rounder and fellow former Ute Caleb Lohner. The Broncos have their right now guy ready to go, right? Evan Ingram, he's going to be the number one guy. He's going to get the lion's share of the snaps, but Sean Payton's giddy about Lohner, and he's got a lot of work to do, long road to hoe in terms of understanding how to use that big 6'7", 250-pound body to move guys, and his blocking technique and all the different aspects from the physical perspective that go into being a guy who sometimes lines up in line with your hand in the dirt. You got to be able to handle yourself and not let your team down. So that aspect of things will take a little bit of time, sure. But what they can do with 2 tight end sets using him, using Ingram, I promise you this, it's not going to take Sean Payton too long to go to the old playbook and satisfy his curiosity on Caleb Lohner and get him out there a few times. And if you caught all 4 of your targets for touchdowns, that's I'll use that word again, I think for the 3rd time tonight. It's another harbinger that, you might be able to parlay that into a significant role in the NFL. Phil, I'm really excited to see Savion Jones and Q Robinson this year. So much talent, just praying they can play at this level. I'm not as sure on Robinson. I know he's going to be a great help on special teams and in that phase secure a spot on the roster. We'll see exactly what the Broncos have in mind for Robinson, and there haven't been too many. We haven't heard much about that from the Broncos up to this point. But Jones, oh baby, that dude is legit and gives the Broncos a nice fail-safe in the event that, first of all, against injury to any of the starters, but also, hey, you're no longer in kind of poor leverage posture relative to John Franklin Myers coming contract and all that. So Savion, man, he's going to be awesome. But just keep in mind, Phil, and each player's different, granted, but defensive line usually takes them a couple years to kind of get their game legs beneath them. So we might not see the full fruits of the Jones pick till 26, maybe even 27, but he's going to be a part of the rotation this year. So we will see him. We'll see how it shakes out. But guys, I'm going to go through. I told you I'm going to keep it kind of tight tonight. And so I'm going to go through a couple reminders here, a couple call outs. Guys, connect with us on X, formerly known as Twitter. The podcast main account is at the MHH Pod. The main account for our publication is at Mile High Huddle. Also, keep following on Facebook, Mile High Huddle Pod. The main MHH Facebook is a giant, is well over 100,000 followers on it. And we love each and every one of you. But we need you also to follow on the Mile High Huddle podcast page, which is simple. It's facebook.com, Mile High Huddle pod, easy to remember. If you're opening the app on your phone, just open the Facebook app, type in the top Mile High Huddle podcast, boom, it's right there. Follow, like. Also, guys, you want to get a hat, you want to get a t-shirt. It's another way to help support what we do here at MHH. And this is also a little bit of a reminder for me. Time to roll out some new merch designs, albeit and admittedly it's been a little bit stagnant relative to the designs outside of the standard show logos and a few other things. So I'm working on that with a guy, but it takes a little time. That'll be coming. Meantime, you can get a hat, t-shirt, your favorite podcast, mhhmerch.com. And also the Instagram, folks. I didn't stream to Instagram tonight because I was kind of like scattered a little bit, trying to hurry and get on after being gone all day long. But connect with us, guys. Instagram is a relatively new frontier for MHH because I spent so much of my tenure and career as MHH guy on Facebook, X, and YouTube, because that's where the money was at, so to speak. That's where the people were. So that's where we'd market to. We'd share the stories, put up the videos, do the live streams, drive them to go read our articles, and of course the live streams. But Instagram, that's where people are hanging out more and more as time marches on. So we've been doing more and more. And I finally, about 2 years ago, went, okay, time to figure out, actually a year ago, time to figure out this whole Instagram thing. And it took me a second because I wasn't really a user. So I had to kind of go and figure out how does this all work? What are stories? But it's really fun once you kind of get a feel for Instagram. Most of this, you all know this, you're probably using Instagram, which is my way of saying, guys, follow us on Instagram. Really important. It's growing fast. We need you. And don't forget too, guys, hey, Spotify and Apple, they're on the same level now in terms of how important it is to leave us that 5-star review and get a chance for some swag. And don't forget, while you're with us, subscribe, like, share. Think about this. How many Broncos fans are in the world? It's hard to say, right? But if you go to the Broncos Facebook page, that's a pretty decent barometer to measure. And there's something around 4 million followers on Broncos Facebook. So at the very least, that tells you what like the low ceiling is. That's how we're talking many, upwards of 3.5 million Broncos fans out there right now, wander in the desert, completely oblivious and ignorant of this community and these shows that are happening every night. Like, look, MHH has a big reach, probably the biggest reach in all of Broncos media between all of our different social channels, but we're still scratching the surface. So we want to reach those people, and you want to bring them into the family. We want it to be a big unified MHH family under the Broncos country flag. The best way to do that, guys, is to like the video. It's the easiest way. But if you really want to go that extra mile and help us reach those people, share it. Share it. And make sure you're subscribed. It used to be like 40% of the people that were watching the streams live every night were not subscribed. That number has dwindled. Now it's more like, 80-20, 80% subscribed, 20% not. But check to make sure you're subscribed and follow on YouTube in that sense. And then, guys, a quick shout out to the Super Chat superstars and supporters tonight, helping us keep the lights on with a Chad solo show on Mother's Day. George Fox, thank you, buddy. Ralph Bracegirdle, Jimmy and Gene all together up in Steamboat Springs. Really cool. GLP, Gary Palmer, the Papa Bear, Antonio, Joey. Let me make sure I'm not missing people. Eric Flynn, of course, D-Dub. I'd never forget D-Dub. Much love and respect. Appreciate you guys. I'm going to take one last little dip in the stream and see if there's one last question maybe I haven't gotten to. String guy, anyone hear the rumor that we're playing the Eagles and Washington on a 2-game East Coast road trip this season? Is that true? Don't know. A lot of rumors flying. We'll see. But the Broncos handled their East Coast trip. Normally that's like the kryptonite for the Broncos. The East Coast, especially the early start East Coast games. Last year they went 2-0 on their road trip. They beat let me make sure I get the Jets, and the Bucks, right? So Peyton's kind of changed that momentum or whatever you want to call it. So we'll see. And if that's the way it shakes out, that's a brutal stretch, right? It's not just in this case, you're going East Coast back to back, but you're having to play the world champs and a team that almost made it to the Super Bowl. So, but it'll be fun regardless of when the Broncos play Washington. I can't wait for that game because Bo Nix is going to, and Sean Payton are going to be fired up going up against Jaden Daniels. No, pull up Gene, Scott. I don't think I did get that one. Gene, I'm hyped for our punter. LOL. We cut hacks, so we have a number one. Yeah, the Broncos, in case you missed it, a couple of specialist roster moves. They moved on from that additional long snapper they brought in while Mitchell Faboni was kind of recovering. And then that veteran punter that they signed right before the draft, they 86'd him. So, yeah, Crawshaw is undisputed punter. There you have it. And he's really cool, Gene. I know anytime anyone says, they're hyped for the punter, there's a slight little tongue in cheek there. But trust me, dude, as someone who watched him for 3 days at the Senior Bowl, and you're just sitting there in the stands, dude, 10, 15 rows up from the field with a good view. You want to try and get as middle of the stadium as possible so you're seeing both sides of the field because there's stuff happening on both sides. And, dude, guys jump out to you. Scott and I kind of broke it up. He'd be like, you film this, I'll film that. But over that kind of process, certain times things jump out to you that you weren't really looking for. Might be like a running back, like Jarquez, might be a quarterback, receiver, corner, whatever. This punter, Scott could tell you, I'm like, hey, who is that guy, dude? Wow. He's like, yeah, that's that Florida kid. He'll probably end up being the only punter drafted. Turns out he was the only punter drafted. And he's really got a big leg. And now he's coming to Mile High, the thin air. And, dude, accurate in terms of pinning guys inside the 10, inside the 5. He's going to be a lot of fun. Fans are going to love this dude. And he's from Australia, like our buddy here, Glenn. So pretty cool. All right, guys. Shouts to the Ronk. What's up, bro? Great to see you. Happy Mother's Day to the great moms in your world. And Phil, thank you, buddy. Appreciate you for being here, each and every one of you. Zach and I will be back tomorrow night, of course. And we'll get Zach's take on some of these storylines and also whatever kind of else comes out of rookie minicamp. But I believe Eric and Nick will be live tomorrow morning for Broncos for Breakfast since it is a Monday. So be ready for that. And I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow. So again, happy Mother's Day to the great moms in Broncos country and within the sound of my voice. Much love and respect. I don't remember Zach's. Whenever it's my turn to I have to do something like this, I'm by myself or Zach's not on, I can never quite remember what he says. So I'm just going to tell you, much love and respect. Go Broncos.